Okay, I'm Ms. Komiak, and I'm going to show you how to do the functions of the brain, complete that. So we have 3 functions of the brain here, and let's orient ourselves. First of all, we have the brain here, 1, 2, 3, so we'll label that brain. Before we even begin, let's make sure we write our name, period, and today's date. Okay, so now we're going to label the brain. So we have the brain here, brain, 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 brain. And here in between this kind of long thing, it's quite faint, is a neuron, and that is a nerve cell. Neuron, N-E-U-R-O-N. Okay, so you can see I do the neuron here. Now we have 3 things from the brain. The first thing is we have sensory receptors. So I'm going to underline that and write that in. Sensory receptors. Okay, so a sensory receptor is going to receive information from the senses and send it to the brain. I'm going to write that down. Receives information. If I spelled receives right. Information from senses and sends to the brain. Okay, so we receive information from the senses and put it to the brain. Okay, the next step is called integration. And integration is where you're making sense of these the information from the brain. Okay, so it's kind of the processing of information, like organizing it and like figuring out what it is, processing information from sensory receptors. Okay, so when we did the example with the money, you were watching the hand, and then you tried to grab the money. So you watched the hand, you saw the cue when the hand started to move, it went up your brain. You're like, okay, the hand's moving, that means I can move my hand. Okay, so we had sensory input, your visual input, and then it went to the brain to get processed, and then you decided to move, which is called motor output. So the third part is called motor output. Now underline that. Motor output. Okay? Motor output, right? So your brain took in information, right, from your senses. Your brain processed that information, and now your muscles are doing something with that information. It's going from your brain through the neuron to your last thing, which is here, which is muscles. So it's taking information from the brain and sending it to the muscles or glands, like your salivary glands or your pituitary gland, to the muscles, or glands. Okay, so there you go. All right, so now the bottom part is just examples, okay? You are driving and you see a red traffic light ahead, okay? You see would be sensory input, see a red traffic light. So I'm going to underline that and put SR. Okay, your brain makes sense of the red light. That would be integration, so I'm going to underline brain makes sense. That would be an I for integration. Okay. And decides, so I'm going to change that. Decides that you need to stop. Your muscles contract and your foot hits the brake. Your muscles contracting would be motor output. Okay. Remember, I didn't write my name, but you should, I should write my name, but you should also make sure you have your name, the period, when do you have class? First, second, third, fourth, fifth, and today's date. Okay, I'll do one more and then you can do the rest. While sitting in class one day, you smell macaroni and cheese. Smelling macaroni and cheese, that's sensory, it's hitting your sensory receptors, sensory input, hitting the sensory receptors in your brain, travels up to the brain, and now you recognize the smell, not small, you recognize the smell as a pleasant one and realize that you are hungry. That would be integration. So you put an I, recognizing the smell would be an I. Integration, your brain's processing it. And now immediately the salivary glands in your mouth start to make saliva. That would be motor output. Okay. All right. Good luck. If you have questions, let me know.